Hello and welcome to the first episode of a series special racing with UoNRT. You're joined with your host, Dhanush.
I think, am I just a bit of a guest thing? Anyway, I'm Charlotte.
Yeah, you are, well, you don't know much about this, do you?
I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, I've purposefully told you basically nothing
Yeah.
about this just so you can ask questions for the whole episode. So, for the first episode, you are kind of a guest, right?
Okay.
For the next few episodes, you will be my co host.
Cool.
I think this is one of a kind, the first one that URN has ever done. So this is in partnership with University of Nottingham racing team. So essentially, we'll be following them around as they try and will win, hopefully, some awards at the Formula Student Challenge. So the Formula Student Challenge is basically made up of two events. There's a static event and a dynamic event. So the static event is comprised of four events. So the first one is design, cost and sustainability, and business presentation judging.
Okay.
The reason I have decided to do this is because I'm working with the team with the business presentations.
Cool.
Very cool.
I didn't know that.
So essentially, based on what I'm doing, what basically happens is there's a few judges in front of you,
Yeah.
and with the business presentation, it's like Dragon's Den.
Right.
So it's a made-up company, and you have to make up a few stats here and there, and then you try and pitch it like it's a real company. And based on various different metrics, they judge your presentation on how well you did and the content and all of that
So
stuff.
it's literally Dragon's Den.
It is basically Dragon's Den.
Cool.
And then I think it goes for the same for the rest of design, cost, and sustainability. And then after that, it's the technical and safety scrutineering.
Okay.
So the main part of Formula Student Challenge is basically made for engineers rather than businessmen.
Yeah.
So basically, the team every year it builds a car. So
Yeah.
the base chassis stays the same, but then everything else is built every year new.
Really? That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it's very cool. So they build it every year, and then every year there's a new car, and then they go and take it to Silverstone, I think in June next year.
Yeah.
And then it goes through various like tests. So one of the tests is technical and safety scrutineering, seeing how safe the car is.
Yeah.
And then it goes through a tilt test.
What's one of them?
So a tilt test is basically where you set the car on a ramp
Yeah.
sideways,
Okay.
and then the ramp increases in angle, so it gets steeper and steeper.
Yeah.
And then the steeper the angle at which it falls off, the better it is.
Okay. So you're supposed to make sure it doesn't fall off.
Yeah, it doesn't
Cool.
topple over.
Got it.
The lower the center of gravity, the better.
Right.
And then there's the brake and noise test.
Okay.
So the brake and noise test, I presume it's a 0 to 60 to 0 test.
Yeah.
So you accelerate from 0 to 60
And then
mph,
brake.
and
Yeah.
then brake from 60 to 0, and then see how far you get when you brake.
Yeah.
And the closer it is from when you start braking to when you stop, the better it
The
is.
better.
And then there's the dynamic events. I'm going to be honest, I don't know much of this.
But surely that's like racing.
Kind of, sort of.
What is it that you know of?
It's based on 5 events.
Right.
So there's the skid pad. So the skid pad is where it's the figure eight,
Yeah.
and then you just basically race along the figure
Yeah.
eight. That's a skid pad.
Right.
But it's basically where you swerve around cones and see how good the handling of the car is.
Like the agility of the car.
Yeah, the agility of the car.
Yeah.
So I think the figure of eight tests the agility of the car.
Right.
And then there's the sprint race.
Yeah.
So as we know from Formula One, it's basically like a very short race. Yeah, it's a very, very short race. And then there's acceleration tests.
So how fast it goes.
Yeah, pretty much. And then there's endurance,
So that's your longer races.
the longer races.
Cool.
And then there's fuel economy, so how efficient the car is.
Yeah.
So this is basically Formula Student Challenge, and it's going to be a very fun event to go through. So for the next few episodes, we're going to be interviewing loads of various different people from the racing team. So we're going to be interviewing the team principals, the heads of different departments, the drivers, the engineers, loads of sort of people, gaining an insight on what they do,
Yeah.
what their job is, why they do what they do, and a little bit more about them as a person.
Okay.
So it should be a very interesting set of episodes. I have no idea how many episodes it's going to be because I haven't planned enough for this. But it should be very, very fun to go through. And yeah, should be fun. So before we leave, we'll get a bit more insight about your hosts.
I'll ask you the question.
All right, go on.
Who is your favourite team? So we both like F1.
Yes.
Favourite team?
Aston Martin. The reason it's Aston Martin is because when I first started watching Formula One, I think I was 14, 13, 14. And then I think it was the era of Force India.
Yeah.
You know, the Vijay Mallya and then the
bright pink car.
very bright pink car.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, this is the team I'm going to support because I'm a very patriotic Indian, or I used to be at the time. And yeah, it's a good enough reason. And I was like, okay, Force India it is. And then Force India are a team that takes everyone by surprise. They punch above their belts. Like, they don't have a massive financial backing, mainly because Vijay Mallya made some very questionable financial decisions in his time. So they don't have massive financial backing in the day. But they made most of what they had.
Yeah.
And they put in amazing banging performances. Proper midfield team. And then I supported them through the years of Checo and Ocon, and until Lawrence Stroll brought it out after Vijay Mallya got done for financial stupidity. And then from there, Lawrence Stroll got a 51% share of Aston Martin and decided, you know what would be great if a struggling car brand had an F1 team.
Yeah.
And then there we are, Aston Martin.
You know what? I really like did you see the thing when Seb Vettel and Lance Stroll drove James Bond cars?
Yes.
I think that's great. We've got a little crossover with the film as well.
They do, yeah. And then did you see how badly Lance Stroll flopped trying to drift a DB5?
Yeah, and then Seb Vettel's just like
he's a professional. He is such a professional. I love that guy. Who's your favorite team?
McLaren.
Why so?
Mainly because I first started following pretty much. My dad used to have it on, so I did watch the odd race here and there, but I didn't know enough about it.
Yeah.
When I first properly got into F1 was 2019 when Lando Norris joined.
Yeah.
And I like that he was a young British driver. He was the youngest British driver to be racing,
Yep.
and I quite liked that.
Yep.
That actually it was getting to a point where it was less and less, more experience, and you get to see, and it was more teams pinning their hopes on younger drivers.
Yeah.
So since then, it's been McLaren.
Who was your favorite driver pairing?
What currently?
Of all time.
So the only ones that I would know were 2019 onwards.
Yeah. So
off the top of my head.
From whom you know at the top of your head?
Well, so obviously from McLaren, it's got to be Lando and Carlos.
Yeah.
Because their friendship is incredible.
Yeah.
It's so nice because they were both young drivers. Yes, Carlos had been in the car
a lot longer.
Had been in the sport a lot longer. Yeah, he was still quite young. So it's nice to see two young drivers together and the friendship that they have.
Yeah.
It's nice to see across. Something you don't get in any other team.
It's very rare to see a friendship like that in F1 in general.
And the fact that even now Carlos has gone to Ferrari, it's lasted. It
has lasted because I think Carlos invited Lando over to a wedding.
Yeah, I saw that. It was so his cousin is his manager, manager.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
and it was his cousin's wedding, and Lando went.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never knew that. But that is news to me. But that is very great news.
It's great news.
It's great news.
Even like his cousin.
Yeah.
They've lasted friends.
Yeah.
Great.
It's even better that his cousin is Carlos's manager.
Yeah.
So they basically like see each other every race day and every day, pretty much. Yeah. So it's a great thing to have. That is it for today's episode. We will see you after our assessments at the end of January. Hope you join us again, and see ya.